Why does she always look like she's running in slow-mo? She always looks wet, but not too wet.
Right. She's the reason I believe in God.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. I believe that the communist Marxist left is on the rise and is way more powerful than most people realize. That's why they were able to literally get away with murder and still win elections in landslides. And so that is what I focus the vast majority of this channel on, because I know what the result is going to be if they win. Nonetheless, there are moments when you have to engage in friendly fire, and this is just one of those moments, because Ben Shapiro is out with a number of L takes recently, and I think that it's worth commenting on it, so hopefully we can get to a positive result. Obviously, Ben's gone viral.
If you're a young
for this
person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here. I mean, that is a real thing. Yeah, I know that we've now grown up in a society that says that you deserve to live where you grew up, but the reality is that the history of America is almost literally the opposite of that. The history of America is you go to a place where there is opportunity. And if the opportunities are limited here and they're not changing, then you really should try to think about...
No, you deserve to live where you grew up. Stop. If you're a citizen of this country, if you're a citizen of this nation, if you want to live across the street from where your grandparents and great-grandparents are buried, well, they fought and died and bled for this country to create this harmonious nation with a heritage, with a value system, with a people, with a culture. You are not just an economic unit to be shoved around by a hedge fund or a bank to the place of the greatest GDP optimization. No, it's wrong. It's totally and completely, utterly wrong. It's actually immoral, that take. It is a wild thing to think that you don't have a birthright to actually live where your family is from. Wild if you reverse some of that thought and ideology on any other worldview. Becomes one of the most single offensive things that you can possibly say. Somehow it's okay and permissible to say it about Americans. No, no, actually. We reject that. We reject takes like this one that's bothered me for a long time.
And let's be real about this. It's insane that we haven't raised the retirement age in the United States. It's totally crazy. Joe Biden, if that were the case, Joe Biden should not be running for president. Hey, Joe Biden is 81 years old. The retirement age in the United States at which you start to receive Social Security and you are eligible for Medicare is 65. Joe Biden has technically been eligible for Social Security and Medicare for 16 years, and he wants to continue in office until he is 86, which is 19 years past when he would be eligible for retirement. No one in the United States should be retiring at 65 years old. Frankly, I think retirement itself is a stupid idea unless you have some sort of health problem. Everybody that I know who is elderly, who has retired, is dead within 5 years. And if you talk to people who are elderly and they lose their purpose in life by losing their job and they stop working, things go to hell in a handbasket.
They're the same. It's the same clip. It's the same clip. Your life doesn't matter. Your family, your lineage, your purpose doesn't matter. Where you come from doesn't matter. You are an economic unit. You should work till you die. You should have no relationship with your grandparent as a young person because, well, they're retired and they can spend time with you and help you and build a relationship with you. You should have none of that. You should actually work as a wage slave and a debt slave for life. I reject it. I reject it entirely. I've tried my hardest not to wade into all of the drama, but I've just been seeing it bubbling up so much that it's just made it impossible at this point. So here we go. These are some of the takes that have obviously been popping in my feed from Ben Shapiro as of late. And this one might take the cake. Here we go. Ben Shapiro took to the stage last night, says Candace Owens, with Megyn Kelly and lied through his teeth. He said that he accused Erica Kirk of murdering Charlie Kirk, quite literally made up out of thin air. Look forward to responding to him on the show today. So this is what Ben Shapiro said.
Candace Owens. I think that what Candace Owens is doing right now is evil. It is evil what she is doing right now. Okay, and I say that again.
But what?
Because
like I didn't opine on whether it's evil or not. But my position is it's really none of my business. And
why is it? But I have a question. Why is it none of your business? I mean, you comment on these things for a living.
I'm not mother of the internet.
No, but if this were on the left and somebody were accusing Charlie Kirk of his wife having murdered him, I assume that you would be talking about it.
Is that what Candace is accusing Erica of?
Yes.
Of murdering her own husband?
She's accusing TPUSA insiders and other members of the right wing, including Seth Dillon, of being involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk, yes.
Okay. Like I said, I don't take in that content, which is an honest statement. I don't.
Okay, so this is what Ben Shapiro said. Now, I sent my production team to go hunt down Candace Owens talking about Erica Kirk. You can find these clips readily available online. This is not me agreeing with Candace and everything that she says. This is not what this is about. Candace, I personally believe, has takes that are quite wild and quite hurtful to some of the people that are really close in the Turning Point family. I'm not going to sit here and validate them. I'm not here trying to litigate all of this because, quite frankly, I don't find it helpful. But what I also don't find helpful is lying. And what we couldn't find is any clip of Candace Owens accusing Erica Kirk of killing Charlie. That's something that we couldn't find. And Megyn Kelly has now come out and said that didn't happen, actually, and that Ben Shapiro lied. Retweet. Thank you, Megyn Kelly, for clarifying that Ben Shapiro lied to your face and your audience about my words. Rarely in politics do you see somebody so brazenly make an effort to blackmail someone into their position, trying to equate questioning of Turning Point USA employees to accusing Erica Kirk of murdering her own husband is a vile and obvious attempt to shut down further investigation, and it will not work. Okay. Here's what Megyn Kelly had to say on stage.
He said that Candace has been claiming Erica Kirk was behind the murder of Charlie, which I had not heard, and I was taken aback because that seems like something I would have heard. It's so crazy. And I have since learned it is not true. Candace has not made that claim. And in fact, I've now seen several clips of Candace specifically defending Erica Kirk and saying she would never make a claim like that about Erica, and that she is open-minded to other people at Turning Point. That's obvious. She's been making that point. I had heard that point. But she's specifically been defending Erica Kirk, and she's been saying she does not think that of Erica. And in fact, if you read her comments, she's under pressure to make comments about Erica. And so far, what I've seen, she hasn't. So thank you for that question.
I don't like gatekeeping. And it's been wonderful to watch Megyn Kelly work through all of this. The whole argument about platforming is left-wing coded. The entire argument that somebody who I disagree with doesn't have the right to speak, that's not true. In fact, the opposite is true. It's their God-given right to speak. It's my God-given right to disagree. And we can do that peacefully and have a free country. And a good country, in fact. It's the best country when you're able to do that. It's the worst country, actually, when you gatekeep people to the point of building up pressure when they behave violently as a matter of last resort. And that's what you've been seeing with people shooting President Trump in the head, shooting Charlie Kirk. The pressure builds up. People get gatekept. You see people spiraling, and then they decide to just engage violently in the conversation instead of in good faith and debate. So actually having the debate, especially with people that you disagree with, is the best way to have a pressure release valve in society. And even if you stand up, shake their hands, and you didn't agree with anything they said, that's actually how you win. Because at the very least, both sides get heard. Megyn Kelly, people are trying to cancel her over Candace Owens. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. Look at this. No, I have no obligation to separate myself from anybody. I run my own media company and my own show. That show is where I express my opinions and will decide what and what not to opine on. If you need me to condemn Candace or Tucker for their opinions in order to listen to me, then I'm not for you. He's a close friend, speaking of Tucker, and she's under a lot of pressure without gratuitous shots from me. My fight is with the left, not with these two. That's a wonderful take. That's a perfect take. I am not the police officer of the internet. They have a right to their opinions. I have a right to disagree with them. That's what makes this country amazing. The end. Okay, and I'm not here to litigate every single thing that Tucker, every interview that Tucker gives, Nick Fuentes or otherwise, Candace Owens, every theory that she has. That's not my role. That's your role in a free society. And we can talk about it. Quite frankly, I don't find the conversation particularly fruitful. I don't. I find a lot of it distracting. That's just me personally. And so I haven't spent a lot of time or fuel or energy on it. It is beyond smearing. He tried to pressure Megyn Kelly into a statement about me by lying, she's saying about Ben Shapiro. Matt Walsh is saying effectively the same thing. Like, I'm so sick and tired of people nagging me relentlessly, accusing me, taking things out of content. These strategies are never going to work. It's all a massive coordinated distraction at this point. The nonstop pestering of Matt Walsh and Megyn Kelly is a familiar routine. Swarms of sociopaths trying to force others to pledge loyalty via tactics to manipulate a threat. We all know how it will end. I'm sick of the lack of conversation, the gatekeeping, and the canceling on the right. These are the tactics of the left. Identity politics are the tactics of the left. We need a furtherance, actually, of debate, not the silencing of debate in this nation. I stand by that completely. And so here, ladies and gentlemen, is Ben Shapiro's take on Tucker Carlson interviewing Nick Fuentes versus Tucker Carlson's take on interviewing Nick Fuentes. Tell me, which one of these worldviews do you agree with the most?
Let's make one thing clear. This is not about free speech or cancellation. It was never about free speech or cancellation. Free speech has a definition: the right to speak free of governmental coercion. I believe in it, of course. I've always defended it. Criticism of bad speech is, in fact, just a form of free speech. Cancellation also has a definition: the banning of particular people, including people like Nick Fuentes, from platforms like X or Facebook. I believe that Nick Fuentes is odious and despicable, but I've never called for his cancellation. And in fact, I've called for his restoration to those services, despite the fact that I think he's odious and despicable. It is not cancellation to draw moral lines between viewpoints. In fact, we used to call that one of the key aspects of conservatism. It is not cancellation to refuse to signal boost Hitler's supporters like Nick Fuentes. It is not cancellation to criticize Tucker Carlson for rhetorically fluffing Nick Fuentes and other anti-American crackpots. It's not cancellation if you urge others to stop promoting those who rhetorically fluff Nazi apologists. Those are all elements of free speech. And anyone who says differently is lying to you, and lying for the most cynical reasons, to misdirect from their own defense of those Nazi apologists and their promoters. The issue here isn't that Tucker Carlson had Nick Fuentes on his show last week. He has every right to do that, of course. The issue here is that Tucker Carlson decided to normalize and fluff Nick Fuentes, and that the Heritage Foundation then decided to robustly defend that performance. Those who criticize both Tucker and Heritage aren't canceling. They are quite properly drawing a moral line.
I mean, I personally have watched videos of him questioning the Holocaust, likening it to baking cookies in the oven, and there's no way you could have gotten to 6 million, seems to be his theory. He seems to think that we've way overstated the number of Jews killed in the Holocaust. He's ripped on poor Usha Vance in the most offensive terms, which I mean, so what do you say to those people? Say, why didn't you raise any of that?
You know, do your own interview the way that you want to do it. You're not my editor. Buzz off. I mean, I don't know. You want to go yell at Nick Fuentes? I'll give you his cell. Call him and go sit and yell at him and feel virtuous or whatever. That's up to you. I got the same thing with...
In this video, I am not sitting here trying to make a case for or against any one of these individuals. They all have, I think, a lot to say. And they deserve the right to say it. I loved these debates. There's been one debate with Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro, and it was remarkable. And I just wish that Ben would debate Candace, that Candace would debate Tucker, that Tucker would debate Ben, and so on and so forth. I do. And I don't ever want to be part of anyone who's trying to gatekeep or silence. And ultimately, I trust the American people, who are going to listen to messages, and when they ring true with the message of America First and MAGA, President Trump, 2024, then they'll act on it. And that's how you actually win the debate. Just a reminder how awesome it was when Tucker debated Ben.
If the goal is preserving the family as the core building block of any successful society, and it's got to be that goal, because it has all kinds of effects that we want, and it's just inherently good. I don't need to explain it, but I could. But the point is, if that's the goal, what are you doing about it? If you wake up one morning and you find yourself in a society where 23-year-olds with 4-year college degrees and like Initiative, who aren't smoking weed every day, if they can't make enough to buy a car, much less a home, much less get married, much less have children, then why should you be surprised when half of them say they prefer socialism?
Would you, Tucker Carlson, be in favor of restrictions on the ability of trucking companies to use this sort of technology specifically to, sort of artificially maintain the number of jobs that are available in the trucking industry?
Are you joking? In a second. In a second. In other words, if I were president, when I say to DOT, to Department of Transportation, we're not letting driverless trucks on the road, period. Why? Really simple. Driving for a living is the single most common job for high school educated men in this country, in all 50 states. By the way, that's the same group whose wages have gone down by 11% over the past 30 years. The social cost of eliminating their jobs in a 10-year span, 5-year span, 30-year span is so high that it's not sustainable. So the greater good is protecting your citizens from, look, capitalism is the best economic system I can think of, I think that anyone's ever thought of. But that doesn't mean that it's a religion and everything about it is good.
No, but
there's no Nicene Creed of capitalism that I have to buy into. What I care about is living in a country where, decent people can live happy lives, actually. And so, no, I would say immediately, no, are you joking? And I maybe would make up some pretext for public consumption, like, oh, they're dangerous. The technology is not quite finessed. No. But the truth would be, I don't want to put 10 million men out of work because you're going to have 10 million dead families, and the cascading effect from that will wreck your country.